wanted to vote in the presidential election. But when I told my parents, they exchanged confused looks, which clearly said, why does a 5-year-old want to vote? So, what do you know about voting?
Well, in class, we ate apples for snack and voted on which kind of apple tasted the best. And the kind I liked won! I know how to vote. Let me vote for the president.
Then, my parents gently explained to me that you had to be 18 to vote. But how could I wait for 13 whole years? I knew I had to act. So I grabbed some paper and my favorite bright orange Crayola marker, and I carefully wrote out what I thought was a very well-reasoned plea to lower the voting age so kindergartners like me could cast their ballots too. Then, I mailed it to the White House and waited, and waited, and waited. The 2016 elections came and went. But finally, in the spring of 2017, I received a reply from the president. Sure, all it really did was skirt the issue while trying not to hurt my feelings. But I was so proud of myself. Later, people would ask me, why'd you care that much about politics in kindergarten? After all, I knew basically nothing about it, besides what I heard from my parents. You see, my parents discussed the elections every evening of every day, and I soaked in every word. That meant I was influenced by my parents' political viewpoints at the ripe age of 5. As I grew older, I learned and understood more about my parents' views. They were obviously correct, because I trusted my parents above all else. It was simple, it was easy, life made sense. I didn't have to worry about anything, right? Wrong. I definitely had to worry. Because in middle school, people started talking more about things like politics, wars, and the government, and their views were crazily different from mine. In fact, there were times when I was literally in turmoil. I was so confused between what my family was saying, what my friends were saying, what my teachers were saying. I just didn't know what to believe. I didn't know the truth about the world anymore, and that scared me. It was like having a safety net yanked from beneath me, leaving me staring into this black void of nothingness. Each time that happened, it was like a little voice began to speak in my head. No, it said. That's not true. That's not what my parents said. For example, in class, a kid stood up and proclaimed that he found the Indian government to be racist. Oh my God. In my family, it's almost taboo to say that. In fact, a ton of my family in India are fanatical supporters of the Indian Prime Minister. The little voice in my head was pretty much shouting by then, just like my grandpa when he raved about the Prime Minister. It was official. I really didn't understand life anymore. And that could only mean one thing. It was time to learn more. I decided that a good first step would be to learn all the facts, like all Washington Post, Time Magazine, and the New York Times. I spent a few weeks digging into all kinds of articles about AI, politics, climate change, and more. And I was super intrigued by what I learned. The topic that interested me the most, though, was book bans. I just could not understand them. I love reading. Why would anyone want to ban books? I continued reading about book bans as I wrote an article for my school newspaper about a parents' rights group in Florida. They've attracted a lot of online hate thanks to their book bans and extremist worldviews. But for the sake of good journalism, I set aside my concerns and reached out to a founder of the group for an interview. I went into that interview already riled up and angry because I knew that I was going to hate her. But after I heard her perspective on the issue, I found that she was the exact opposite of what I had assumed her to be. In fact, she was a kind and caring person who genuinely cared about American children. I still strongly oppose book bans, but I know the other side of the issue better now. And that was when I realized that the key to understanding the world around me was active curiosity. For my entire life, I was exposed to just one perspective. Then, that perspective was challenged. But in this case, I actively chose to listen to and internalize the other side of the issues at hand. That led to me understanding them. And all of that contributed to my knowledge and worldview. And it made me a better and more informed human being. A lot of adults that I've told this to disagree with me, though. Mahima, we've grown up listening to our parents and doing as we're told. We never question them. But sorry, adults, that philosophy may not apply anymore, given the complicated world we live in today. As kids grow older, they will be bombarded with conflicting information, just like I was. That's inevitable. And that's why adults should be supporting and encouraging kids to learn active curiosity, so kids can move towards independent thinking without having to go through the same confusion that I did. Looking at the bigger picture, the idea of curiosity over closed-mindedness really applies to everyone in society, not just kids. According to a sociologist at Stanford University, to impact someone's opinion, you must understand their perspective better. And after talking to that person, you may find you agree with some of their opinions too. So when we are actively curious, we can understand diverse viewpoints that help us understand the world we live in. So I challenge you to go find an opinion you disagree with. Maybe it's a media channel which broadcasts news you don't like. Or maybe it's a friend who vociferously disagrees with you about the life and death level conundrum that is pineapples on pizza. Whoever it is, take some time out of your day to understand their viewpoint. If we all apply this to our own lives, if we all stay curious, and learn about the other side of the issue, then I can guarantee that we will become more informed global citizens. That will lead to us learning how to navigate this wild, confusing world we live in. And maybe, just maybe, it will empower us to improve